nostalgia quiz never had it so goods at 5:05, followed by the fast-moving picture word game Catchphrase at 5:30. Now on Meridian, Juliet Morris presents Vintage and Veteran.
In Vintage and Veteran, Brighton or bust, the trials and tribulations of the annual Veteran Car Run. Against the odds, can Lord Montague make it to the finish? And E-Types in Essex. If I can't hang on to this Jag, what next? Around 500 veteran cars take part in the London to Brighton Car Run. And this year, we'll be travelling with Lord Montague of Beaulieu in this, his 1903 Daimler. Doug, what have you got to do to get her ready?
Well, we've got a simple task. We've got to make a new gearbox for this one. We've had all the gears made. We've just got to screw it back together now. It failed on the Brighton run. In fact, these cars don't break down on the route. They actually failed to proceed. But
it's a polite way of saying they've conked out, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what are the chances of this Daimler actually making it, realistically? I mean, it's a great car, fun to look at, I'm sure fun to travel in. I hope it's fun to travel in. But will it get to the end?
I think realistically, it's 75% chance. You've always got the unknown with the traffic. People actually stop in front of you, and these things don't stop very well. And they don't like traffic. You can get boiling problems, they get hot, ignition problems, all sorts of things. You just can't foresee what's going to happen.
You say these cars don't stop very well. That suggests they're kind of lethal, doesn't it?
Well, they do bounce off of modern cars quite well, so not so bad. But they are obviously more dangerous than the modern car, yes.
These veteran car owners are clearly hardy types. They've got to be to get up at the crack of dawn on a cold November morning to gather alongside the Serpentine in Hyde Park. The London to Brighton run is almost as old as the cars themselves. It began in 1896 to celebrate the abolition of the Red Flag Act, which stated that a man carrying a red flag had to walk in front of the earliest cars. Their speed was limited to 4 miles an hour. When the act was abolished, they were allowed to travel at a speedy 14 miles an hour instead.
I mean, it is, given the fact you've got your accelerator on the left, your clutch on the right and the brake in the middle, you've got a very agricultural gearbox, and you've got enough to manage without having to worry about whether the burners are working.
Here are cars that use everything from steam to petrol and even candles, and they take a lot of looking after. In an age of mass-produced cars, we forget that many of the earliest machines were one-offs, and inventors indulged in some weird and wonderful ideas. Motoring was for the intrepid and the wealthy. You not only had to know the intricacies of this new contraption, you had to have an outfitter who could kit you out in coats and hats to combat the cold of an English winter. Some of those relics, the clothes, not the cars, are on show today. Apparently, you can never have enough layers, even if your car's only doing 20 miles an hour. Lord Montague relies on the kind of tweed coat the motorist would have worn 100 years ago. And, of course, his venerable Daimler from 1903.
I did my first one in 1950 with a famous model called Barbara Golan, who was very clever, bought this big hat, which flew off immediately. And we broke down at first, almost at Brighton. But I think on the whole, over the last 50 years, I think mostly I have not broken down. I hope I won't today. But we just had a new clutch put in, new gearbox in the car, 93 Daimler, and it's a nice four-cylinder car, get up the hills.
The London to Brighton run is a favourite of Prince Michael of Kent, president of the Royal Automobile Club. The RAC took over the organisation in 1930. You can only enter if your car was built before the 1st of January 1905. But I'd never have guessed there were so many survivors from the birth of British motoring. the run actually boasts an annual waiting list. Back in 1896, when Queen Victoria was still on the throne, the run was started by symbolically destroying a red flag. Today's event is started rather more sedately by the former Conservative Transport Minister, Peter Bottomley. First away is the 1875 Grenville steam carriage, a sort of locomotive of the road, which requires a driver, a brakesman and a fireman. And there's no need to check for air in the tyres. They're solid teak. Next up is Lord Montagu, who's relying on the 1903 Daimler to get him to the seafront at Brighton without breaking down. $450 cars, all lovingly restored by their owners, and together worth around £40 million. In any other country, they'd probably close the roads for an event like this, traditionally held on the first Sunday in November. But in England, entrants in the London to Brighton run are left to do the best they can in London's traffic. At this stage, Lord Montagu is longing for what Mr. Toad called the poetry of motion, the real way to travel, the only way to travel, the excitement of the open road. Modern cars, a touch of road rage, and the veteran car's lack of brakes makes the first part of the run, well, interesting. Brixton Hill gives the drivers their first challenge. Looking at it, you'd probably call it more of an incline rather than a hill, but the early machines are struggling. Some passengers have to get out and push. I wonder if the cars were this temperamental when they were first built. If so, every trip must have been an adventure. It's around now I find myself thinking about the problems that beset Genevieve, the star of the comedy film that made the London to Brighton run world famous. And Lord Montagu may well be sharing similar thoughts. As the four-cylinder Daimler, the one he said would be so good on hills, gives up the ghost. Lord Montagu isn't alone, although he has the luxury of a crack team of mechanics. In fact, Doug Hill, chief engineer at the National Motor Museum, has been following on a motorbike. While Doug gets to work, another victim, this one from the USA, pulls in behind. A 3,000-mile journey, only to break down on the outskirts of London.
We were coming up Brixton Hill very well. Suddenly the engine stopped and a lot of water came out and I thought it was overheating. But now in fact we can't find where the spark is. So it may be an ignition problem. Anyway, my wonderful staff are doing best to get me back on the road.
Looking for a spark there. I've got them in here, but they're none in the right place. Yeah, not down the other end.
It's starting to rain, so Lord Montagu retires to a more modern Daimler. Doug is puzzled by the breakdown.
When I got to the car, it was boiling, so I was looking for the problem to cause the boiling. It was causing the boiling, but then there was just no spark and it wouldn't start. And it was the wire between the ignition switch and the coil that were broken, so we'll move on.
There have been years when Lord Montagu has had to retire from the run and resort to hitching a lift with a friend. And despite all those preparations back at the museum, the Daimler very nearly forced its owner to do just that again. Now, though, it's back on the road, which is more than can be said for some. So it's out into the countryside of Surrey and down into Sussex, past unofficial entrance and overtaking the Grenville steam carriage, the driver of which has no interest in the price of a litre of petrol. His contraption consumes 5 gallons of water and 6 pounds of coal per mile. It'll take the steam carriage 9 hours to reach Brighton. Others get there somewhat faster, and by lunchtime the entrants are pouring onto Madeira Drive to receive a bronze medal for completing yet another London to Brighton run. Lord Montague has picked up the motoring correspondent of the Times to record his crossing of the finish line. But after we left him in Surrey, there was another hitch.
Yeah, we had to change a gasket, but I have a wonderful staff, as you know, and they did all the work.
But the most important thing is that he made it. In the first run, though, in 1896, one entrant was suspected of putting their car on the train and covering it with mud before crossing the line. I don't think anyone would chance that today, but the London to Brighton run definitely brings out the best of British, even if you have to walk the last few yards.
Now there's a new Persil with added aloe vera to make your laundry bloom. And it's kinder to your skin. New Persil aloe vera, a drop of nature, a wash with kindness.
Aloe vera.
In summer, when the days last longer, your moisturiser should too. Touch from Olay, with a hydrovitamin system that continually hydrates your skin for summer. Touch beautiful summer skin. Touch from Olay. Love the skin you're in.
The Lynx Trials. 1912. An unspeakable failure.
1964. Too strong. Not half.
1990. Didn't last quite long enough.
2002. Cracked it. New Formula Lynx. Last 24 hours.
Let me get this.
No, let me.
Please, I insist.
Okay, thanks.
If only he had a Royal Bank of Scotland credit card, he'd be paying just 2.9% per annum until March 2003 on purchases and balance transfers. Handy for when a bill comes as a bit of a surprise. To apply for a credit card from the Royal Bank of Scotland, call 0800 16 16 16. Make it happen.
ESK's fantastic selection of garden furniture at prices you wouldn't think possible. Like the fan set at only £553, the Henley set at only £297, or a stylish rose arch gazebo only £69. There's so much to choose from. Superb quality at low prices. Come and see for yourself. ESK at Eastbourne and Hastings, keeping the lid on prices.
Keeping the lid on prices.
Book now on 0870 366 6677 or visit rhs.org.uk for your tickets to the Hampton Court Palace Flower Show, the greatest show on earth, from the 4th to the 7th of July.
I'm the urban spaceman, baby, I've got speed. I've got everything I need. I'm the urban spaceman, baby, I can fly. I'm a supersonic guy.
You can't wrap them up against allergies, but you can treat almost every allergic reaction with Piriton. Piriton, for the family's allergies.
Most women won't admit that. Most women say, I don't dress up for you. It makes me feel
Oh,
good.
of course, I say that to my boyfriend. You know what I mean? I don't do it for you.
But where are we meant to stand? What are we meant to go with? What are we meant to believe?
Women always lie. Don't worry about it.
You make the conversation, we make the biscuits. New Twixell's Slender Biscuit Fingers.
You may remember at the beginning of the series, I managed to persuade the owner of this gorgeous Jaguar XK150 to lend her to me. Well, clearly the time is fast approaching when I've got to give her back, but I have to admit, I have been bitten by that classic Jaguar bug. So, I've decided to find out more. Come to Essex to meet a man who has more classic Jaguars than you can shake a stick at. Enough, I suspect, to give any Jag enthusiast a funny turn. Derek Hood turned what began as a hobby into a business. Initially, these workshops near Chelmsford housed his own collection of cars. But as more and more people turned to him for advice, he decided to turn professional. Now he buys and sells around the world. Often the cars come to him in pretty bad shape, but they leave looking like new.
Well, this was a hobby started about 12 to 13 years ago. I enjoyed classic Jaguars and liked working on the cars, and I thought it'd be a good idea to turn my hobby into a business.
What did you do before Jags?
Dentistry. It's a big change. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And why Jags in particular? What is it that you love about them?
Is the design of the cars. They're still very pure. Even today, they still look like a modern car. If Jaguar were to produce the car today, the cars would still sell, because people still know them after all these years.
So it's the way they look, really?
Yeah.
And today, are classic Jags popular?
Very popular. They're growing more and more, because people are quite bored with modern cars. They're very, very basic, pure design computer cars. So people like Jaguars, or classic cars.
And what sort of people buy these cars? I mean, presumably, you've got to be very rich, haven't you? Because I guess they do cost a bob or two.
The cars in here too, because they're built to a very high standard. But you don't have to be rich to own one of these cars. You can start with a base car, which is very sound, rust-free, and if you want to, over the years, improve the car.
So how much would I pay, on average, for one of the cars here in your showroom? She asks, nervously.
That's right. In here, cars range from 40,000 plus. I do have other cars which are not as good as these, but to be quite honest with you, the more expensive car is a cheaper car to own in the long run, because restoration can be very expensive. We normally get a car in from anywhere throughout the world. We strip the car down to a bare body shell, or if it's an XK, take it off its chassis. We blast the body shell to find any rust, and we spend maybe 6 to 10 months rebuilding the car. Every component is overhauled. On the engine side, a lot of people are looking to drive these cars more and more. So what we're doing now, we're actually fitting modern Jaguar engines into maybe a Mark II or an XK Jaguar.
Jaguar grew out of the Swallow sidecar and coach building company, started in 1922 by William Lyons. His SS cars had a rakish look that set them apart from the competition.
And we built then the first SS. We, of course, said it stood for Swallow sidecars, and the Standard Motor Company said it stood for Standard Swallow, so it was never really resolved. Nevertheless, when we took it to the motor show, it created quite a lot of interest, and I think really did get us off the mark.
But they were underpowered. It was when he teamed up with two brilliant engineers, Harry Westlake and Bill Haynes, to produce the powerful XK engine, that William Lyons' company, now called Jaguar, really took off. After the Second World War, the XK series of sports cars became a legend in its own lifetime. winning for the British at Le Mans in the 1950s, and it reigned supreme until Jaguar designed the E-Type and launched it in 1961. Here was a car whose slinky shape had been developed in the wind tunnels at Farnborough, and it was an instant hit. Of course, the amusing thing about all this is that the post-war XK engine had been developed by William Lyons not to power sports cars, but to fit inside a family saloon. When the company got around to unveiling a saloon at the end of the 1950s, it was called the Mark II, and it became a classic. Car to drive, partly because of the amount of power behind it, but also because of its size. It's very comfortable, it feels very solid, and I can imagine going away with a group of friends in this and having a wild time. She's lovely inside, beautiful walnut dash and a very smart steering wheel, and a lot of power. Of course, I always keep to the speed limit, but it's nice to know there's a lot more there, if you were ever to need it. It's also very sophisticated. I feel more sophisticated driving it. Mind you, every little bit helps. So, what shall I do? In the first programme, Lord Montague said he saw me in a Jaguar. Should I give up Alan Hendry's XK150 Roadster in favour of a Mark II or an E-Type? Or maybe I should go for something completely different. But you know, I just can't bear the thought of being separated from this gorgeous machine. So I've decided to ask Alan if he'll let me borrow it again. Well, Alan, a sad day for me, but a happy one for you, I guess.
Yes, it's going to be great to have her back.
Have you missed her?
Yes, I have. I didn't realise just how much I used her. Yeah, it'd be good to have it back, and I'll put a few miles on it.
Oh, well, she's been brilliant to drive. Thank you so much for lending her to me.
No surprises?
No surprises and no accidents.
Excellent, no, I can
You'll be
see.
pleased to hear. Yeah, I hope I brought her back as you handed her over to me.
It looks good.
But thank you very much, yeah, she's been brilliant to drive. And I know it's a bit of a cheeky question, but what are the chances of borrowing her again? Possibly, maybe.
Oh, because yes, you looked after it. It looks great. So, yeah, of course.
Thank you. And one more request. Can you give me a lift to the station?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jump in.
Okay, my last ride.